What's good, folks? It's KnightmareFrame here with a new Warframe video, coming at you with the best Saryn builds for every situation. The Queen of Warframe herself, Saryn is the one frame after Rhino that every player should have. She's one of the best DPS and solo frames in the game. You can build her in various different ways to dominate in every game mode. She has the ability to completely maim the enemy to the point where they're easy pickings. I will run down everything that is Saryn before I get into the builds. For starters, as a Saryn, for the love of God, please stay away from corrosive rejection. She's an amazing weapon specialist on top of all of that. The best weapons for her are weapons with spread and punch through. Furthermore, she is a damn powerful melee warframe. Now for her abilities. Spore. This is a very simple and straightforward ability. It scales off of power, strength, and range. Duration only affects the decay rate, so make sure your duration is nothing under 100%. You basically infect enemies with corrosive spores that deal damage over time. The longer they remain on targets and spread, the more damage they will deal. You can spread spores by recasting it on other enemies or attacking enemies that are already infected to transmit the infection to others. Spores can spread by bursting them with weapons, so weapons like the Ignis Wraith, Phantasma, Archoplasmor are very good with her. Saryn's spores have synergies with her other abilities as well. The more power strength you have, the more status chance and damage you will deal with your spores. With 200% power strength, your spores will have 100% status chance, but that's not always needed. An infection that spreads at a rapid rate and kills your opponents, what more could you ask for? And this is why you don't need to run corrosive rejection or use any weapons with the corrosive element. No matter how much range you have on your spores, it's always best to keep moving to have them spread efficiently and effectively. Her second ability, Molt. This is where Saryn casts a decoy that draws enemy fire and also increases her movement speed for a short duration, and cleanses her of all status effects. The ability scales from power, range, and duration. It remains diverting enemy fire till it explodes, and when it explodes, it deals toxin damage with 100% status chance, regardless of power strength. And this also helps spread spores. Duration is what determines its lifespan, as it will slowly dissipate over time, and eventually exploding, and the health and explosion damage is from power strength. Toxic Lash, the third ability. This is an overall damage boost to all your weapons, while the damage boost to melee is doubled. This ability scales off of power and duration. Toxic Lash will add a percentage of toxin damage to weapons. The damage multiplier is affected by power strength. When active, any attack with Toxic Lash has a 100% chance to pop spores and have them spread. Along with damage boosting, it also provides some damage reduction, only when wielding a melee. With decent power strength, it will increase the block percentage of all melee weapons, that caps at 90%. Best melee weapons for Saryn would have to be polearms and shield and swords. Her final ability, Miasma or Miasma, however you want to pronounce it. This ability scales off of range, power, and duration. Saryn unleashes a poisonous cloud that pollutes the air, stunning enemies while also dealing viral damage with 100% status chance. Miasma deals 400% damage to enemies infected by your spores. When the infected enemies are killed by Miasma, it causes the spores to spread even more. A warframe with a very simple and straightforward kit with a lot of synergies with her abilities and weapons. Alrighty, now that you know how her abilities work, I'll be showing you various types of builds. Some tankier than others, but each one can hold their ground. So, if you go into Elite Sanctuary Onslaught and see a Saryn that dies in the first zone, actually scratch that, just literally dies in any zone, ignore them. I have to be toxic about this, cause she can be very elusive and tanky. If you die in ESO, then something is wrong with your build. No offense, but it's true. So without any further ado, let's check out the builds. I'm going to start with the everything build, the all-rounder build, the basic Saryn build that can be taken anywhere. Great for Elite Sanctuary Onslaught, Fissures, and pretty much anything. The only thing that this build has to defend itself is the health pool, augment of her second ability, and healing return. It has a balance of everything. I suggest paying close attention to what I say, because there are some people who will comment about something that is missing or something I didn't explain in certain areas. Well, that's because you didn't listen or watch it properly. As Saryn, the aura can be whatever you want, except corrosive rejection. Just don't. I like to take this Saryn for syndicate missions, hence why I have loot detector as my aura. In this build, I want to have 250% range, but not sacrifice too much. I have stretch, overextended, and cunning drift. This gives me 40 meters to my spores. And to counteract the negative 60% power strength from overextended, I am running Umbral Intensify and Vitality along with Transient Fortitude and Power Drift. I get 165% power strength, which is more than enough, and primed continuity to balance out the duration. I am not using any efficiency mods because you don't really need it as Saryn. What you can also do is replace Cunning Drift with Hunter Adrenaline or Rage, but if you want to keep the range as is, you can always replace the Regenerative Molt augment with Streamline. Regenerative Molt is the augment for her second ability that heals Saryn over time when you cast the ability. The healing scales off of power strength. This setup works for me because I can easily get energy with Energizing Dash or my Death Cube, but I also do have Arcane Energize for that quick burst of energy when it actually procs. Now for the people looking to get into ESO as a group to farm focus and whatnot, here is a build for you guys. 250% range for great coverage of your spores and miasma, and 209% power strength that gives 104% status chance on your spores to strip armor pretty fast, and enough damage to destroy everything on the map. Vitality for some survivability, Streamline for some efficiency. Having a Trinity in this team does help, but you can still do this without one, and Arcanes don't really matter in this build. Alright, now moving on to something really interesting. For those who want something different and fun, it's a build that doesn't need to be used, but it's fun to look into. This build isn't something that you need to have, but it's something stupidly fun and enjoyable. A Speed Saryn. It's pretty simple. A lot of power, duration, and sprint mods. The speed buff you get scales off of power and duration, and you can double that with sprint mods. And also take a rifle with Amalgam Serration for even more added speed. This is just for fun, okay? Not to be taken seriously, but always good to have a weird build loadout on some of your frames. Of course, this speed can be taken even further with the help of a Speed Volt and a full power strength Wisp and an Escape Velocity Nova. Anyway, let's get a little bit serious. Now, here we go into an Endurance Runner Saryn. In this build, I'm only using the Zakti as a weapon, the Saryn and Zakti combo. Deadly and never to be underestimated. Saryn already deals corrosive damage with her spores, and just to prove how overpowered she can be, I will only use one weapon to spread the spores and deal the damage. This build is tailored to Endurance Runners. If you don't like camping, well, you can skip on ahead. The aura is enemy radar for that juicy 30-meter radar to spot enemies on the map and helps with enemy pathing, and especially if your companion or sentinel eventually dies off, you would need something to help you out. I only have Power Drift and Blind Rage to give me a total of 214% power strength, more than enough for spores to reach 100+% status chance. As you can see, I have a lot of 4-mod polarities, so don't worry about that. It's just from fooling around a lot. You don't need that many 4-mod for this build. I have Stretch and Augur Reach for 175% range, and nothing more than that. You don't want enemies dying off too far. This range is manageable. Quick Thinking to prevent you from dying when you take a lethal hit, while it drains energy instead of killing you. Flow to provide you with that energy to supplement Quick Thinking, and the negative efficiency from Blind Rage. Vitality for a nice health pool. Rolling Guard makes you go invulnerable for 3 seconds after a dodge roll. Perfect for those hectic moments. And the last slot can be whatever you want, but I prefer Regenerative Molts, and no need for duration since Saryn has one of the best base durations in the game. And nearing to the end, I have my Umbral Saryn build. I do have an aura form on this Saryn, so I can run anything, but for this I went with Growing Power, but you can swap this to Enemy Radar or Energy Siphon. And of course, since this is a full Umbral Saryn, I got all 3 Umbral mods with an Umbral Polarity, so I can fit all 3 with ease. 190% range with Stretch, Augur Reach, and Cunning Drift. This gives me 30 meters on my spores, which is more than enough. The great thing with spores is that for one, they don't need duration, hence why I do not run any duration mods. And 2, to spread them efficiently, you always have to be on the move, so 30 meters is pretty decent. And for energy, I have Hunter Adrenaline to help replenish my energy when I take hits to my HP. Adaptation to reduce the damage we take. And now for the final slot is a filler slot. For a better melee experience, you can swap this out for Handspring, but in this case I went with Regenerative Molt for even more insane healing. But then again, it's up to you. The last arcane slot I have is Arcane Strike for that juicy 40% extra attack speed. There are no negatives in this build, so if you plan on putting an Umbral Forma on Saryn, then give this build a try. That is, if you belong to the Church of Saryn. For those looking for a powerful melee weapon for Saryn that isn't a Zaw, then I highly recommend getting yourself a Legion, a very powerful polearm that has a very nice passive. When you inflict a status effect on a target, the weapon gains bonus attack speed and procs toxin damage. It also has a very high slash, and I have 3 different builds that can serve you well. First build gives you a nice combination of elements that are deadly when paired up with Condition Overload, and this is a viral build. The amounts of slash that the Legion gives you will eat up and annihilate enemies left and right. Paired up with Saryn's Spores and Toxic Lash, they won't last a second. The second build has no elements and is a slash and crit build with insane amounts of attack speed with Berserker. This build is deadly. Weeping Wounds gives you a lot of status chance when building up combo multipliers. The slash and toxin procs with Condition Overload and the crits provided by Blood Rush, sweet dreams for your enemies, and again, Saryn can boost this even further. Lastly, I have an elemental build with Healing Return. Healing Return is best when paired up with Saryn. It literally makes her hard to kill. Saryn is the most deadliest Warframe out there, and quite a decent tank. Pretty much one of the best Warframes in my book. So for those who always ask who's my favorite, this is it. And for those who haven't seen the light, you're welcome to the Church of Saryn. Alright folks, this has been it for me. I do hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe. For more Warframe content, do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace.